All right, we interrupt that story because we have a tornado warning now in effect for areas along I-55 that does include a large area of central Tangipahoa Parish near Fluker and Roseland. Right now, we're seeing a notch in this area here. Right now, we've got Hannah Guard on radar. Let's come in a bit closer and check out the velocity, Hannah, and we can certainly see we do have the threat of some damaging winds. Now, as of this point, it is a radar observed. We're not looking at any ground truth, but nevertheless, we've been seeing a lot of wind with this line up to 60 to 65 miles per hour. This is all moving eastward. Arcola, you should be okay. Roseland, down to Amite, you need to get into your safe place immediately. This thing could really spin up quickly. We are beginning to see some of the reds and yellows coming together at this point. As a result, we could see a developing funnel or the potential of a tornado. So here is the warning for southeastern Pike County in Mississippi, and also heading over toward areas of southern regions into Tangipahoa Parish. So once again, this is a tornado warning that is in effect right now as we continue to watch the threat of the potential of that. Now, as far as debris detector right now, really not seeing a whole lot at this point. Now, we are seeing a lot of winds along the main line itself, but nevertheless, we may see the threat of a developing tornado. So I'm going to go in and check out what's happening on my weather alert here, and we can certainly show you the fact that we are watching out. With this line, we have had a history of several high winds, hail up to 1 inch, so certainly we need to be on the lookout for that. So the Weather Service is once again issuing this tornado warning. Flying debris will be dangerous. The potential, if you're in a mobile home, definitely if you can go to a safer structure, if you live around Fluker down to Amite, this is moving at about 25 to 35 miles per hour. It's moving very quickly, so this will be on you over the next 5 to 10 minutes. So once again, Roseland at about 5:15, right now at 5:07. So certainly this could be a dangerous situation. Very big notch in this area here. Sometimes it takes the radar to catch up with actual velocity. Velocity is what we look at with the reds and greens that come together for the threat of some type of rotation. So moving into Hillsdale, this is more so in the Baton Rouge market, but now this is encroaching into the New Orleans television market, which of course we cover Tangipahoa Parish. So in these areas from Roseland to Amite, get into your safe place right now as we are looking at the threat of that tornado warning. And with that, we could certainly see the threat of some damaging winds and quite a bit of hail. So let's come on back now and let's take a look at some of the winds if we can, guys. What we'll do is we have Nakandra and we have Hannah on the radar, and they're going to come in and kind of show you some of the winds with this line of storms as they're moving eastward. So this is really the area of concern moving in toward Roseland and Amite right now. We talked about a very fast-moving line, winds up to 65 to 70 miles per hour. Certainly, that could blow down power lines, blow down fences. If you're in a mobile home, this could be a very dangerous situation. So again, it's moving quickly. If you're in Roseland and Amite and you can't get out, stay where you are right now because this is moving in on you as we speak. We don't want you on the road. This is actually now what they're focusing in on, the potential of a couplet or velocity, indicating the winds coming to and from the radar, indicated by that rotation. So winds coming into the radar and also winds coming away from the radar, that's where we get that rotation. Now, as far as the debris detector, we're seeing maybe some things kind of flying around just a little bit at this point and maybe a little bit larger, but nevertheless, this is going to be a situation where you need to get into your safe place right now. From Amite over to Roseland, we need you to get into that area where we do see the threat of a very strong storm with that potential of a tornado moving eastward. So here's I-55. So it is just about to cross on I-55 over the next minute or two. Then it moves eastward, north of Amite, over to Roseland and Arcola. So as it moves this way eastward, we are going to have to watch out for the threat of this potentially getting stronger or weakening. Now, we do have a lot of rural area coming in to the east of I-55, so we will be monitoring that. But nevertheless, you can see the main line, and this is a really interesting signature here. We call this kind of a couplet, where we kind of see kind of a backwards kind of a shaped comma on the back and southwest side of the flank of the storm. So with that, this is a very curious situation where the Weather Service has indicated that likely we could see a tornado developing, if not one, but we have not had any ground truth at this point. So around Amite, heading over toward Roseland, we're talking in the next 2 to 3 minutes. So right now at 5:13, that's why I'm saying if you're in a mobile home, do not attempt to leave it. I know it's not the most ideal place, but as this encroaches, you don't want to be out and about in the event that you have a tornado. So get into the interior of that mobile home if that's where you have to be, and certainly ride it out, maybe put something over your head, like a mattress, some big pillows, in the event that we do have some flying debris. And also, we have to remember, we have a lot of tall trees, and the North Shore is lined with pine trees, so you get those potential tornadic winds. They could certainly bring those trees down on structures or vehicles. That's why we're saying if you are in a mobile home in these areas, and many people up here have camps or mobile homes, we do not want you to leave the house. Stay put, get into the interior, and certainly put something over your head, maybe a cushion from the couch, maybe a big pillow, maybe a big thick blanket, something that would protect your head in the event that we do get some flying winds. So at this point, we are still watching this area here that we're circling, the Condra and Hannah driving Viper right now, indicating we're seeing the potential of a tornado. Let's go back to velocity, guys, if we can, and let's see winds to and from. I mean, really the circulation doesn't look all that great, but still, this is a very suspect area where we're seeing kind of a bow on the northern end of it and potentially kind of a wraparound on the southern side. So this system, as it moves eastward, has the potential of, if not a funnel cloud or tornado, it has very strong gusty winds, and we have seen those gusty winds coming in over the last 15 to 30 minutes. Let me see if we have any updates on that. And again, at this point, we're still looking at the tornado warning that's in effect up until about 5:30. Now, they may extend it, they may not. But as of right now, what we're seeing is a potential, maybe some debris flying around, could be maybe garbage cans, winds of 55 to 65. But at this time, I'm really not seeing much of a major signature, which is good, of a potential hard or strong tornado that has developed. So right now, gusty winds, hail, and very heavy rain and dangerous lightning moving in. Hannah, let's go on and put the lightning counter on if we can. Let's kind of see what's happening within this line itself. So we really don't have a ton of all these storms. So really, the lightning has been farther south and west, which is kind of interesting at this point, because you would think coming into very hot air, we're getting a big rise in the atmosphere. You would think we would get that static electricity to get many thunderstorms and lightning developing. But at this point, we're actually not. So Hillsdale, if you're watching, you're in the clear. You're seeing some very heavy rainfall, but you're out of the woods in terms of the potential of this being a tornado. Also, we're looking out Roseland and Amite. It's on you right now. So that's why I say it was about 5 to 10 minutes away. 10 minutes ago, it was west. Now it is on you. You need to stay in your safe place. Even if you're in a mobile home, get into that interior and remember, put something over your head for protection in the event that we do see some flying debris. So certainly, this is a very dangerous storm, and as it moves in, we could see the threat of 1-inch hail. On top of that, we could see some of the very heavy downpours that could cause some lowland flooding. So, you know, really, I'm not seeing major rotation here. We're not really seeing an area where we're seeing a tight couplet of winds coming together. Now, here's a 75-mile-per-hour wind potentially coming in on the northeastern side. So with this, we're looking at very strong winds over Amite. And with that, the rotation detector does indicate on the higher end that we could see, here's your graph, on the scale, we could see the potential of some strong rotation trying to come together. Amite, stay in your safe place right now. This storm is right on top of you. It is moving quickly, so that is a good thing. However, right now, right along I-55 in that corridor, that's where we're seeing the very strong rotation, strong gusty winds, potential of tornadic development. So we are putting out a first alert for all areas North Shore that are under a severe thunderstorm watch at this point. Let's come on back now and see what we're watching as far as the actual reflectivity. I mean, really interesting signature here coming in right around Amite. So it looks like we may have an extension. Yeah, it looks like they just extended it eastward. Nikondra's going to go check it out. It looks like it's jumped. Basically, earlier you can see, watch the pink area from Hillsdale all the way from Roseland, Amite, heading into Holton and Wilmer in these areas coming in to parts of central and eastern Tangipahoa Parish. So at this point, Weather Service is indicating that we do feel the potential of a tornado or developing tornado with this storm. As a result, They didn't drop it. They actually have extended it farther eastward for a longer point in time. So here's Stony Point, here's Wilmer, here's Holton. Some of you on the South Shore may be saying, I don't know what that is, but people who live up there, it's our duty to let them know that potentially dangerous storms are headed their way. So if you live, I would say more so in Holton, this looks to be moving kind of more due eastward. Wilmer, we want you to pay attention. But Holton, if you live in this area along 45, and this storm system is moving quickly at about 30 to 40 miles per hour, it will take a little time to get to those areas. So once again, these are the areas near Holton that we need you to get into your safe place as this very quickly approaches your area. Wilmer right now, we're going to be on standby for that. The worst of it seems to be farther south, where we saw on the southwestern flank some of those winds up to 70 to 75 miles per hour. 74 is hurricane strength. So remember, you get winds of 70 to 75, you're looking at some of those winds like a category 1, but they're very compact in a short area. They're not macro, they're more of a micro scale, where with a hurricane, of course, you get that widespread macro wind, and that could certainly cause quite a bit of issue as the storm begins to move eastward. So once again, if you live in Holton, get into your safe place now. Storm is approaching you, and they're saying extreme right now on top of the actual rotation potential. So a bit concerning here, but let's go back to velocity and let's check it out. The velocity itself, it's indicating now this thing may be coming together. I mean, earlier we saw just patches, but when you start seeing these reds and greens really starting to concentrate around an area where we're seeing the potential of strong winds on a thunderstorm, this is what we watch for. Let's come out a little bit, guys, if we can, and we can show you what's happening. We're going to also bring the Condor Norwood in here in just a moment, but nevertheless, this looks to be now a very dangerous storm. High potential of a tornado on the ground. What, Nicandra?
We're getting reports from the Weather Service, multiple reports of a possible tornado near Highway 1045 and 1046. So that's going to be just to the east of Amite,
right?
Pretty close to where you are on the map there.
Okay, thank you, Nicandra. I'll tell you, this is coming together to be, it looks like a very dangerous storm. Let's go back now to actual debris signatures and see what we have here. What I want to do is broaden out just a little bit, guys, if we can, and we do see the potential of some debris flying. Now, when we talk about debris, if you remember the Slide L tornado of about a month and a half to 2 months ago, we were showing on Viper debris that was flying around that could have been rooftops, which they ended up being. 2x4s, which they ended up being. Also fence boards, large objects. Now, here we're not seeing as large of objects, but certainly we're seeing likely tree limbs, likely fence boards, things of that nature as this moves eastward. So again, Holton, you need to be in your safe place immediately. Interior of your home, into your center room. This is a storm that's moving very quickly, so you're not going to have a lot of time. Now we have another tornado warning north, guys, I believe, heading in on the northern end, coming in right near Mount Herman. So near Mount Herman, we are now under a tornado warning there through 545. This is up in Washington Parish. Let's go back to velocity on this storm now if we can, and we can see that we are seeing some of these winds. If we can plot the winds as well, Hannah and Nicandra, we can kind of see what's going on, but these are winds that certainly could be coming together at about 45 to 50, on the back edge up to 55 to 60. So if you live in Mount Herman, you need to get into your safe place immediately as the storm system moves your way. Right now, Mount Herman probably about 3 to 5 minutes away as this line is moving extremely quickly off to the east. Fast-moving storms, you don't have a lot of response time, so as that storm moves eastward, it's moving at about 35 to 40. Mount Herman, you're going to be under the gun in the next couple of minutes. So once again, Mount Herman, get into your safe place immediately. Here we go. Mount Herman at 525. So 19 to 25, that's about 6 minutes. I would say about 3 to 4 minutes it would be in your area. So you don't have a lot of reaction time. Get into that safe place, into the interior of your home. Maybe on the way to your interior, grab a couch cushion, grab something that you can put over your head, because the threat of a tornado is there, and we could certainly see some damage, major damage, depending on it. Now, here we go again, seeing kind of a hook coming in with the main line itself, and within this area here, this is what we're watching, that rotation potential as we move on through. So, very heavy rainfall is falling in that area. Let's come on back. Look how quickly it moved. This is about a 3.5 minute delay on the radar. It was west of Mount Herman. Now it's right on top of you. That's why I was saying, You don't have maybe 6 minutes, probably 2 to 3 minutes as that storm is right on you as we speak. Let's come back now to this one down south. And this is the one that we saw ground truth of a funnel or potential tornado coming in. Now, we were talking about Roseland and also Amite coming south. If we can take that tornado warning off that banner itself, I want to show you what's happening here. Let's come and show you actual velocity, where we saw a lot of reds and greens. Now I'm not seeing as much, which is a good thing. Where it was over Amite, we certainly saw that red and green come together kind of in a circle where we see winds coming to and from the radar. So again, these are some very strong gusty winds. This is another velocity look. So as of right now, we are certainly seeing the threat of this kind of pulsing back and forth. Earlier did not look like much. Now it looks like a very strong storm. So Holton, we've been saying over the last 5 to 8 minutes, get into your safe place immediately. This storm has a history, very strong damaging winds, hail up to 1 inch, blinding downpours. So certainly this is a very dangerous storm that you need to take and pay attention to. If you know anybody who lives up in these areas, you may want to call them immediately and say, strong storms are headed your way. Tornado warnings are in effect. We've had a history of strong gusty winds and hail, so the potential is there. I would certainly call them if you can. I promise you, next radar scan, this is going to be right on top of Holton, where we're seeing right now still a strong detection of the potential of rotation on Viper radar. Viper, we're exclusive. And again, Viper's done a great job over the years, and we trust it. And this indicates, I mean, look at the definition that we have of winds of strong gusty rotation potential within this area here. So this gives us that indication. Holton, you're going to be right on that northern end of this line. Any little shift northeastward, this is going to be on top of you in the next probably 2 minutes, if not that. This is moving very quickly at about 40 to 45 miles per hour. Let's come back now, Hannah, put on the actual reflectivity. Let's put it into motion, and let's show how fast this line is moving. I mean, this thing is just really moving eastward very quickly from Hillsdale just about 45 minutes ago, now all the way approaching Holton. So this is not wasting any time. So this is a storm that you're not going to have a lot of prep time. It's going to be a storm that we don't have much preparation. So if you live in Holton, get into your safe place immediately. Grab something to put over your head. I'll let you know when you're in the clear. Roseland, Amite, stay put. I would stay in your safe place still for another maybe 5 or 10 minutes. Storm is moving away from you, but still on the back edge, we have seen some of these strong winds up to 65 to 75 miles per hour. So Roseland, Amite, stay in your safe place. Hillsdale, you're fine. You can come out now if you're in your safe place listening, maybe on the weather app. If you lose electricity and you have your device with you, Fox 8 weather app, you can actually watch us live, and from your safe place, if your electricity's out, from your device, we can give you the all clear. So right now, I'm giving Montpelier, Hillsdale, all clear. The storm is now moving east of you. But from Roseland to Amite, stay where you are for the next few minutes. This storm is moving right on the cusp of Holton, right on the southern edge of the actual warning itself. So Stony Point, if this system continues south, I think you'd likely be okay. Let's go back north now, Hannah, because we do have another severe tornado warning. This tornado warning is in effect for Mount Herman. All this is moving eastward, and that is until 5:45, moving in to Washington Parish. Let's check out velocity here. Let's see if we see some of the reds and greens and some of that rotation. So yes, right around Mount Herman, right now you're seeing the strong winds. We just got the update. So in 3 to 4 minutes with the update, over Mount Herman, now moving toward Warrenton. And that's why we're saying these storms are not wasting any time. So if you're in Warrenton, get into your safe place immediately. Clifton, get into your safe place immediately. These storms are moving at a very fast pace. Grab something to put over your head. I know I sound repetitive, but these are the warnings and messages that we need to give you as we see the potential of strong winds, if not a potential tornado that is developing or on the ground. So we have not gotten any ground truth, but right now, you're watching Fox 8. We are looking at 2 tornado warnings in effect on the North Shore and the South Shore. So from Roseland eastward, we're watching that storm. Heading into Tylertown, we're watching that storm as well. So these are very fast moving, and tornado warnings in effect for the potential of gust. Nicandra?
Well, we're looking at the whole line has been updated to severe thunderstorm warning. So everywhere along that line, looking
Okay.
for those 60-mile-per-hour plus winds.
Okay, so let's back out. You can see now this area of orange, and Nicandra, yeah, it just came down. The line of orange, basically, for the entire line, basically from French Settlement all the way northward, this entire line as it moves eastward, we're looking at the threat of the threshold of a severe thunderstorm warning, winds of 55 to 60 or greater, potential of 1-inch hail. On top of that, blinding rain. So we are now in the criteria of all areas along this line of getting that hail or the strong gusty damaging winds. Nicandra, you had something to say?
Well, saying, and also the potential that you could see a tornado develop quickly.
Along that line quickly. So yes, so within this line, very good point, we could see spin-ups like we've been seeing northward from Roseland, heading up toward areas of Osika. These are the areas that we're going to be watching very closely right now under the gun, but from Albany heading eastward, and that does include Covington and Mandeville, likely Covington and Mandeville about 20 minutes to 25 minutes away. Maybe, Hannah, we can maybe do a storm tracker on it. Let's take a look at some of the times. So Covington and Mandeville, some of the larger communities on the North Shore, we're going to be watching. We're going to pull out at about 40 to 45 miles per hour. And with that, we're going to be seeing the threat of some of these storms. So let's come into Covington and Mandeville, as you can see. Basically, as we come into Pumpkin Center, Robert, Ponchatoula, and Folsom in these areas, Folsom just north, we're going to be looking at Folsom at about 5:44. So that's about 15 to 25 minutes away as that storm system is moving toward Hammond, toward Tickfaw, toward Springfield, and eventually moving toward Folsom, Madisonville, and Mandeville. So the entire line right now is under a severe thunderstorm warning. So what we're seeing along the line, the threat of those storms. So Hannah's going to be pointing in very closely near Holton. Let's see, do we have an update on the warning?
Updated till 6 p.m. for Washington, St. Tammany, and Tangipahoa.
Okay, so both of those, they're actually extending now through 6 o'clock. So right now, it is 5:27, just about to be 5:28. So we do have about 32 minutes with that extension of that warning. So again, we're looking at even another warning farther north. So we are seeing these warnings kind of popping up right along the main line. So to reiterate, the entire line coming in south and west toward Albany, eventually approaching Robert, heading over toward Goodby. In those areas, we are looking at the threat of severe thunderstorms and warnings with the potential of isolated spin-ups like we've been seeing along the main line. So this line kind of means business. Now, Folsom at 5:46, right now, we are looking at 5:28 real-time on Viper. So as that moves eastward, we're looking at Folsom likely in the next, 18, 19 minutes. So that's how fast this thing is moving. So Folsom, if you live around Goodby, if you live around Robert, Hammond right now, it's coming on top of you as we speak. Very heavy rain, strong gusty winds with that line moving in. Now, here's what we're watching for the potential of some rotation. This is a very broad area of winds. So within these winds, the red is actually going away from the radar. The winds are toward the radar moving in. So remember, we moved it to Hammond, so the Hammond radar is indicating that we have winds coming to and from. And when you have that circulation, it shows up in this pattern for the threat of tornadic development. Nicandra, you have something to add?
I was just saying about the movement to Hammond means that the storm is really parallel to it, so it doesn't show as dramatically as it might.
Exactly. What we're saying is very strong winds along the line. May not be a concentrated area, but it is a very long line of very strong winds. What I'd like to do is let's go back north toward Holton, guys, if we can. Just move the map northward, and we'll look in these areas here and kind of see what's going on. These storms, again, very strong gusty winds in this area. This is in the heart of that actual warning that has now been extended through 6 o'clock. So some of the winds on the back end coming down a bit to 20 to 30, up to 40 to 45 miles per hour. But within the main center itself, we're seeing some of those winds that likely are 55 to 60. And earlier on the western edge of Tangipahoa Parish, we saw winds up to 70 to 75 miles per hour. Now, Viper rotation, let's come down south a little bit, guys, if we can, and let's get into the heart of the actual warning. So this is the warning we're looking at from Larange basically to Holton, and it kind of broadens out and moves out toward Folsom. Folsom, you're in this warning as we speak. Now, Viper rotation has actually come down a bit. Earlier, we were looking at strong to extreme, indicated by the likelihood of some type of storm, tornado, developing winds that would clarify up to maybe an EF0, up to 85 to 90 mile per hour winds. So again, this storm looks to be weakening just a bit, but we're not going to discount it because as they move eastward, remember, a lot of warm air. Today we were at 90 degrees. It's moving into an area that we're going to get a lot of humidity, dew points in the 70s. We have a lot of moisture to work with this main line. On top of that, the heat actually rises that air quickly into the atmosphere. That's where you get downburst winds, and also you can get that threat of rotation. So we are looking at a large area now of the entire North Shore, basically under tornado warnings and severe thunderstorm warnings. Nicandra?
So we're seeing from the Weather Service that they are going to be issuing a new warning just to the northeast of Hammond, going into that area.
Tornado warning?
A new tornado warning.
A new tornado warning northeast of Hammond. So what they're, okay, here's a donut hole right near Hammond. I mean, you can actually see, remember we talked about the radar being moved from Slidell over to Hammond? Well, we call this a donut hole because where the radar is, when it shoots out, where the dome is, the radome, you don't get any information. So this is the exact site of where the radar is up in Tangipahoa Parish. Here's Hammond, here's Natalbany, here's Tickfaw. So again, we're shooting back in this direction here, indicating near Baptist, all these areas with strong winds, potential of large hail. On top of that, those strong winds could create the development of a tornado. So the area in line of yellow, those are severe thunderstorm watches, but along the main line, we have all storms along this. It is indicated by, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for the entire area. So likely this is the new warning that just came down that Nicandra was saying. So I want to come on back. Tornado warning here. Northwestern St. Tammany Parish, eastern Tangipahoa Parish, southwestern Washington until 6 o'clock. Severe thunderstorms capable of producing strong damaging winds located 8 miles south of Wilmer, 9 miles east of Amite, moving east at 40 miles per hour. They're moving very quickly, flying debris, dangerous to those without shelter. Mobile homes could be damaged or destroyed in the event of a tornado. Not saying it's going to happen, but tornadic winds can certainly do that. Very dangerous storms from now all the way through about 6 o'clock for these areas. Now, eastward, depending on the line, we may be talking about the same thing from Bogalusa down to Sun and Bush. But for right now, these storms are approaching Folsom. If you live in Folsom, get into your safe place immediately. Get something to put over your head. Get into the interior of your room. Get away from windows. This is a very dangerous storm. These storms have had a history of winds up to 60, 70, up to 75 miles per hour, potential of a tornado. Let's go back to velocity, and we can show you good education here for you all. What we watch for is kind of the reds and greens coming together, where again, red away from the radar, green to the radar. So to and from indicate that rotation right in this vicinity here, where we do have the threat of a tornado moving eastward. Now, as we put on the Viper rotation, they were reading my mind. I was going to say, put it on. You can see one small area within that couplet. We're looking at the potential of strong winds that Viper is indicating that we could certainly see a tornado where we're in very rural areas. Now, here's Folsom. Stay right there, guys. Here is the actual storm. This storm is moving eastward. So you may be thinking, well, if I'm in Folsom, it's going to be north of us. Don't do that. This storm could extend with winds farther south. 2 or 3 miles makes a difference where you could see a lot of damage or issues in Folsom. Not to say it's going to happen. We want to play it safe here, though. This is an area that we're watching that's been pulsing back and forth. It's been getting stronger. It's been getting weaker, but still it's been holding on to where the National Weather Service has been extending this now for the last 30 minutes or so. So rotation detector here, kind of going off the charts. I would have to say, as we put this into motion, I believe they're putting it into motion, that this has all been moving eastward with these winds. So we have a history now. From Amite to Roseland, moving eastward toward Holton, near Laranger, we've been seeing, if not tornadic development, we have been seeing a lot of strong gusty winds that could cause a lot of damage. So that's why I'm saying, with Folsom, right now, I would get into your safe place. I'm going to clear you. Let's be better safe than sorry, even though the storm is a bit north of you. Laranger, stay where you are for the next few minutes. Let this thing go by. On the back end, we may get some strong winds, but nevertheless, if you're around areas of Holton, Laranger, hang tight for another 5. I'll give you the all clear when we're done with it, but around Folsom, I want you to get into your safe place. Just play it safe. In the event, these storms have been rapidly increasing and decreasing. So here's Folsom. The main activity is here, but notice we have a big bow coming in where these storms will create a lot of strong gusty winds and also 1-inch hail that could be damaging. So Folsom, right now, you're going to be in line for that storm as it moves eastward. Let's go north again, Hannah, if we can. I don't want to forget the people up in Washington Parish. And you can see right near Warrington, in these areas near Clifton, we're seeing some big storms in this area here. This is in the heart of it. Mount Herman, you're in the clear. If you're watching from Mount Herman, you can get out of your safe place. This has now moved well to the east of you. Let's come back to velocity if we can. Hannah Gar doing a great job with Viper, and velocity indicating that we're seeing more of a line of strong gusty winds where we're seeing the greens and also the reds, really likely very strong winds. Let's back out a little bit, Hannah, and we can see the extent of the actual distance of these storms moving in. And you can see once again, these storms are very elongated as it moves eastward. So even though it may not be a wraparound or a signature of a tornado, what we do see is the winds coming to and from radar extend in a long line. That is why this orange box from French settlement basically all the way north of the border of Louisiana and Mississippi, this line is moving eastward, and the entire line is warned with severe thunderstorm warnings. Right now, we're still watching a couple of tornado warnings that are in effect, but Albany, Independence, Roseland, all moving east of you in the next few minutes, but Covington, Mandeville, over to Goodby, Sun, heading over to Bush in the next 15 to 30 minutes. This is all headed your way, so certainly pay attention. If they do extend the warnings, we're going to be giving you the warning to get into your safe place immediately. So at this point, very dangerous line of storms, has a history of 1-inch hail, has a history of winds up to 75 or greater. That is severe thunderstorm criteria. And the warnings have been extended in terms of tornado warnings several times now. So the potential of these being tornadoes or a funnel that may be kind of developing and coming down, it may not be a strong wind gust over you, but in a couple of miles, if it redevelops, it could be just east of you. So that's why we're saying in these areas, I would certainly pay attention along the leading edge. Amite, Roseland, Independence, you're good. You can get out of your safe place. This storm now is a good 20 miles away. Down toward Natalbany and Hammond, you're good. You can get out of your safe place. I know you're seeing heavy rain, and you're seeing maybe even some lightning developing to your northeast, but once again, the worst of the rotation is now moving well away from Tickfaw, Natalbany and Hammond moving away from Independence, and getting ready to move away from Holton. Holton, hold on just another couple of minutes. Let this line get a bit further eastward. As the main thrust of the line, that's where the big push of winds, what we're seeing. We call them either straight line winds, or we can see potential development of a spin up or a tornado. So Holton, hang on just for a little bit longer. Let's get this line a little bit farther east. But Folsom, I would get into your safe place as we speak. That storm is moving your way. As we go back to velocity, Hannah, I want to see where this velocity is in terms of where Folsom is. And Folsom, we talked about that. Some of the winds are now extending southeast. Remember, they were farther north. And I was saying, Folsom, get into your safe place. Better safe than sorry. So some of the winds actually moving a bit farther southeast, getting ready to move in right now as we speak toward Folsom. So if you live in Folsom, certainly get into your safe place. As you can see, the pulsing is coming in. This storm 5 minutes ago was all green. Now we're starting to see more rotation within the storm itself. So it's pulsing where it develops, it kind of collapses, it develops again, and that has been the history of this storm for the last 30 to 35 minutes. So right now it is northwest rather of Folsom, where Folsom is southeast of the storm, and it has begun to shift a bit farther south and east, where it's a bit too close for comfort for Folsom. I want you to get into your safe place, get in. Also, make sure you put something over your head in the event you get flying debris. Let's go to, if we can, Hannah, let's go to the radar detection and also the debris signatures. Let's see what's happening there. And again, it's really kind of hard to see with this. I mean, really overall, we start seeing all the different colors, but what we do know is that these winds are creating some of this moving in. And right now, you can see how quickly, last scan in 3 minutes, it's now right over and moving east of Folsom. So under this area here, you're seeing the potential of reds and greens coming together. That's why we're saying Folsom, in your safe place. 5 minutes ago, it was north of you. Get into your safe place. Better safe than sorry. And now the storm has kind of shifted a little farther south and east, where we are seeing the threat of some of those strong gusty winds and the potential of a tornado developing, if not a funnel. So here we go. It's kind of decreased again, where just a few minutes ago, we saw more of an elongated area of strong potential of rotation. Now it's kind of shrunken just a little bit. So once again, this is a storm that is not behaving. It's just not showing its true colors, where it's pulsing, it's getting stronger, it's pulsing, getting stronger. Folsom, still stay in your safe place. It still has a little ways to go. In the next 2 to 3 minutes, it'll move either north of you or extend over you. So even if it's not a tornado, we are under a tornado warning. It will indicate some strong gusty winds, as well as the potential of some of that hail. So interior of your room, that's where we need to be. So Nicandra, any other updates for you? If we can open up Nicandra's mic.
So we do have, the good news is if you are to the west of that line, we are seeing some of the warnings dropped.
Good.
So those are the folks that are getting a chance to get a break here, but we are still under our severe thunderstorm warning that's going to continue for St. Tammany and Washington, as well as eastern parts of Tangipahoa until 6:15 now.
Oh, so they
that time has
extended it
been
again.
extended to 6:15.
Okay, so they've been extending this warning. I mean, normally a warning would come, we would see kind of a digression, and the storm would kind of collapse. But this is now the third time that this has been extended, from the original to just around 6 o'clock, and now extended for the third time until about 6:15. So the storm moving eastward near Folsom, that's what we're watching. Now, the warning up north, just to get clarification, Nicandra, because I'm not really at the printer, the northern end on Washington has been dropped.
Yes, so the northern portion of the Washington storm is canceled.
Okay, so we can see that pink area going away. Perfect, okay. So now we can focus more so on this. We're jumping back and forth to let people know Washington and Tangipahoa Parish. So right now, into St. Tammany, we're seeing near Folsom, that line moving in over your area. Hopefully you're in your safe place. And again, you can see as that line shifts, that line now has shifted eastward toward Folsom. And interestingly enough, the actual warning is a much shallow distance. It's not nearly the distance of the previous ones. So we have the, is that another ring going off, guys? Let's see. We're just getting another update from the Weather Service here. Tornado warning has been issued northwestern St. Tammany till 6:15. Okay, so it was likely just an update on this. But nevertheless, Nicandra, if that changes, if you let us know, I'd appreciate that. Moving eastward near Folsom, again, strong winds and hail. Sounds like I'm repeating myself, but as the information comes in, as of right now, what we know is we look at history of storms and what these storms have done. We have seen winds up to 70 to 75, certainly damaging winds. We have seen this pulsing. Now, a much smaller potential rotation still to the northwest of Folsom. It is moving eastward. Folsom, again, I would just get into your safe place, hang out there for another 10 or 15 minutes. This is going to move by quickly, but what we don't want is, right now, it does not look that impressive. As it moves east on the next scan, if we see that extension of strong winds come back, Folsom, we could have some problems there. But for right now, if you live in Folsom, I would play it better safe than sorry. Get into your safe place as it moves in. So the actual line itself, right now, 544 updating, is right on top of you. The worst of the winds right in this area here, just to the north of you now, north-northwest, where earlier it was here, now the winds have shifted here. So again, where we see this area right in here between the two, it is just north of Folsom. And once again, we can see some of those strong and those very gusty winds. So we're hearing a lot of bells going off, and that would indicate that we're seeing the potential of either an update on the tornado warning or the potential of one being dropped. And as of right now, we're still holding on to the St. Tammany tornado warning that's in effect. And also, Roseland and Amite, Nicandra, have we gotten any updates on this one near Holton? At 5:45?
The northern storm is being dropped. That's what that last bell was.
Okay.
The tornado warning for northern Tangipahoa Parish is going to be expiring for 5:45.
Perfect. Okay, so, well, right now it should go, it just went away. You saw it live on Viper. So now we had 3, we have 1 tornado warning that is still in effect. And what I'm liking is the fact that the distance of the actual warning is much less than we saw. Those other warnings were extending out another 15 to 20 miles. This warning may be only around 15 to 18, not up to 35 miles. So again, what we're looking at is hopefully this weakening just a little bit, as we saw. Let's go back to the rotation if we can, Hannah, and let's see what we're looking at in terms of the actual areas. Now, yes, it's over Folsom, and we talked about that. It extended south. The good news, it's weakened a bit, but still, this is some pretty impressive winds and some heavy rainfall. This is more on the moderate side, where earlier we had the reds that were strong. So the reds have kind of sunken south and east and dissipated, but what we're seeing is still the potential of moderate strong winds right over Folsom. So in your safe place, hopefully you're heeding the warning. In the event that this pulses up, you could get a strong gust of wind, but this is moving quickly. So Folsom, in the next, say, 10 minutes, 8 minutes, we'll give you the all clear. But for right now, if you're in Folsom, you need to stay in your safe place, because this extension of the line itself moving eastward, that is what we're watching for the threat of some of those very strong winds, where we're looking at a severe thunderstorm warning for the entire line. Let's back out now and let's see where it is from the city southward. I don't want to forget the city. I don't want to forget down toward the bayou. Look at the river parishes. You're getting ready to get hit as well. Now, this is where, in yellow, the severe thunderstorm watch is, but the warning actually extends a bit farther south. So when we talk about a watch or a warning in and around the watch area, this distinct line doesn't mean that farther south 10 miles one can't develop. So when you're in the outer edges of that line of an actual watch or warning, you still really need to pay attention, because this line is all moving eastward at this point. Now, the northern end, where we're seeing this orange line, this is all warned storms for severe thunderstorm. Winds up to 55, 60 or greater with that hail, but farther south, we do not. Now, I would not be surprised if we do see a warning come out for parts of the South Shore coming into Convent and LaPlace toward areas of the river parishes. Right now, the northwestern and western side of Lake Maurepas, big storms, a lot of lightning here continuing to move in, moving down toward Sorrento and Donaldsonville. All this is shifting south and east toward the city. Norco, nothing yet. Luling, nothing yet. Hammond in the city, not much yet. Now, will this slow down in terms of the actual development? Not speed, it's going to be moving quickly, but will the actual development either start petering out, or will it hold its own intensity? That's where we need to pay attention on whether or not, with the intensity holding up, where we may see more warnings extending south and east toward the river parishes and potentially moving into the city as well. So for right now, I would like people south in areas near Convent, heading over toward Mons, along LaPlace, down to Norco, along the river parishes. Make sure you just pay attention. We're going to be with you as long as this tornado warning's in effect. But nevertheless, as these storms move in, you're going to even see, although not under a warning, strong gusty winds and some very heavy, blinding rainfall moving on in. So say one more time, Aaron. Okay, so Tangipahoa Parish, we're getting a report, 4,200 residents in Tangi without power. So over 4,000 without power up there. So again, that is likely those very strong gusty winds, not so much as lightning, but more so gusty winds, either blowing down trees on power lines or the power lines themselves going down. So again, over 4,000 without power heading into Tangipahoa Parish. Nicandra, you have something? Can we put up our mic, please?
Well, we've got some damage reports I'm going to let everybody know about, especially if you need to go up I-55 from the Tangipahoa Parish President. Very heavy wind and rain, but several places with trees down on the interstate. So several reports of trees down across I-55, both directions north of Amite. So if you need to travel and you're in that area, you want to, try to stay in at this time, because we're still seeing that very heavy rainfall in some areas. But reports of trees down in the street, 13 trees reported across the area near Amite from Tangipahoa Parish, and 4,200 customers without power, and 4,200 Entergy customers without power in Tangipahoa right now. So starting to get some of the reports of the effects of this storm as it is pushing to the east. And remember, this is coming out of Tangipahoa, so we're going to hear more, I'm sure, from Washington and St. Tammany shortly.
Right now you're seeing the energy map that was just up. That was all the outages coming in throughout parts of Tangipahoa Parish. And right in that area is where we were looking at that storm approaching I-55 and the potential of some strong winds. It was showing a really strong signature indicated by some of those strong winds. So right now, double boxing, I don't think I can go on that side of the box, but on the left-hand side of your screen, because my wall is backwards when I do it, but nevertheless, if you're watching TV on the left side, that map does indicate under Entergy, all of the customers, 4,200 without power in the northern part of Tangipahoa Parish along the I-55 corridor. So again, remember, the linemen cannot go out until the winds are less than 35 and the storms have settled down. So if you're without power, this is the area that has many outages. It may be a while before Energy can even get out with that. Now remember, that's why we say download the Fox 8 weather app. Even though your power's out, you can use your iPhone, your iPad. You can go onto your 4G, AT&T, Verizon, mobile, T-Mobile, whatever service you have. You can watch us actually live on the app itself, and we can give you the information. So if you're without power and you don't have the weather app, that's a negative. So that's why we say download the Fox 8 weather app. It's not to get hits on the actual app. It's to actually get information to you under emergency situations like we're seeing right now, where you'll always be with information on the event you need to go to a safe place, we clear you, or without power, what may be coming your way. So again, Folsom right now, very heavy winds as well as very strong storms. Now, the actual warning itself is going to expire at 6:15. So right now it's 5:52. So it's going to be interesting to see. And earlier you can see, look at that broad area. This is earlier where we see it broad, and then it really shrinks down. So I'm liking what I'm seeing in terms of the actual coverage and the distance of this storm activity. So at the Weather Service and here at Viper, we can kind of get an idea of the storms weakening or not. And to me, it looks like they may be weakening just a little bit. Nicandra, let's come in a little bit closer and stop it. Let's go to the rotation detection, if we can. And I want to see what's happening there. So as the storms move in, it gives us an indication. Here's velocity. The velocity still shows a lot of wind and rotation. But if we can go back now to the actual Viper rotation, we can show you those areas that may be in red or yellow or in green. And this does indicate, again, this is velocity. This is what we're looking at. And this is the rotation, very, very moderate, if not on the weaker side. So this earlier, as it was over 55 near Nottulbany and Tickfall, where we have a report of trees on the interstate, so traveling that way could be a problem. Maybe a slowdown, shut it down to get those trees off the road. This was a solid red as it moved over that area, indicating that we had very strong, and at points, we had yellow to extreme winds. So Viper verified that when the storms moved over 55, we were with you saying the strong threat of a tornado, and the warning came out, and the effects are we have a lot of power outages on the northern end of Tangipahoa, over 4,200 without power up there from Energy. Then we saw a lot of the signatures indicating that we did see the threat of some very strong winds, potentially tornadic winds. So the last gasp of it is right here as far as that tornado warning. Right now near Folsom, and I'm liking what I'm seeing. Folsom, just stay in your safe place another 5 minutes. I promise you. After that, this will be out of here. This thing is moving at 40 to 45, but still close enough to where we could get some back edge winds. When these lines move in and these bow echoes form, you can get those outflow winds, but on the back side of it, you can also get some of those winds that come in, kind of rotating around the actual storm itself, even though it may not be a tornado. So let's come on back now if we can. Let's go back to our velocity if we can, Nicandra. And velocity will show us basically that we have seen some of these strong winds from Enon to Pine Cliff. So in this area here, Enon, Pine Cliff, you're likely seeing some strong gusty winds in your area. So again, this is really north of the area we're seeing the reds and the greens coming toward the radar. Winds are coming toward because the actual radar is over to the west toward Hammond. So the red indicates away from the radar, coming away this way, and the green heading to the radar. So that rotation indicates that we do have the potential of some of those strong and kind of circular winds at this point. So repeat that, Aaron, if you can. Okay, Nicandra, you have some more information?
Well, we've got a picture, Zach Videla, At home, but still
What's
on the
that?
job always.
Yep.
He is sending, oh, I didn't know there I am here. This is a shot that we were seeing of the gust front moving through. Now, this is going to be just to the west of Covington, and this is as that storm was approaching the area. He measured winds about 40 miles per hour, but you can just see how ominous this looked as it was headed towards that direction, and something to see here continuing on. So really giving you an idea of how that line of storms came together and pushed across the region. Now, as we continue on through the next 15 to 20 minutes, we're still watching that leading line. So if you are in an area just to the east here of Folsom, maybe towards Sun, you might be seeing that same kind of a picture here of that cloud approaching, that dark cloud as it is moving in ahead of where we're still seeing our tornado warning that continues now until 6 p.m. as we continue on, and then 6:15 is our orange area where we're all still in the severe thunderstorm warning. That's what we're going to be looking at here.
What we're seeing is, and I'm going to let Nicandro take this. I need a water break. Thank you, Meg Gatto. Bring me some water. But nevertheless, near Vornado, but let's take a trip down the line. So let people know on the South Shore. So I'll start you, Nicandro, north, and we'll work our way down the line.
So we're tag teaming and working it all together here, but this is the area that you're watching. So again, you look at that leading edge. If you've had the rain pass you in the western end of Washington Parish and Tangipahoa, you're in the clear. It's this area to the east that we're watching for here as this line is approaching Bogalusa, Varnado, as it's coming on south towards Bush and Sun, and then right towards Covington. You are going to see that line coming in just in the next about 10 minutes or so as we continue on. Now, this is the warned section just to the north. So that's the area you're going to be watching, approaching Highway 21 and such, and then moving down towards the causeway. We're even seeing some of that as we continue to make its way towards Mandeville area. So we've seen that first area, that first line of storms, the southern end of I-55 here, now experiencing those strong winds. And we've already heard that near the Amite area, that's where we're seeing the most reports for damage out of Tangipahoa Parish. And then now heading south, our southern areas have not been getting into this much. We're now seeing that line moving through St. James Parish, so Convent, Romeville, heading off towards areas in St. James across the river. This is where you're now beginning to see the effects of the leading edge of this storm. And we've got several of those little notches. These are the areas that are a little suspicious, the ones that you have to be on the watch for here as this line is moving through with the strong winds. So if you're in these areas, even though we're not getting warnings right now, you're not in the watch right now, you do have that heavy rain coming in and some very gusty winds. So be prepared for that here moving in towards St. John Parish. This is all moving very quickly. So Reserve, LaPlace, Edgard, Lucy, you guys are going to all get in on this heavy rainfall in the very near future. And then we're really stretching all the way down into the Bayou parishes. So Northern Lafourche, Terrebonne, you're going to be seeing some of that shortly as well. We still got maybe 30 to 45 minutes before we even start to see this approaching parts of Jefferson and into Orleans, if it stays together. And right now, this has proven to really have enough efficiency that it has been moving pretty quickly. So likely we're still going to get some of these storms to move through areas south of Lake Pontchartrain. They don't quite have as much oomph, which we're grateful to see, as they have moved across this North Shore area. But we are going to be experiencing that heavier thunderstorm activity as we continue on to see these storms moving in. Reiterating, we do still have the tornado warning that is in effect for parts of St. Tammany Parish, and that's going to continue here for the next 15 to 20 minutes, and then stretching all through Washington, southern Tangipahoa, and parts of St. Tammany under the severe thunderstorm warning, and that continues until 6:15. So that's the area in there. Highlighted in yellow, the severe thunderstorm watch box. Technically, that's including Washington and Tangipahoa, but as you see, we have had those heavier storms continuing to move through the area, and that's why we continue to stay with you. You may be wondering, say, wait a minute, we're still doing weather here. Well, we've got some severe weather that we are working with, and we want to keep you updated, especially in this area. We've already had reports of damage where there's trees across Interstate 55, power outages, extensive power outages across parts of Tangipahoa Parish, and that same area of strong gusty winds continuing to move across Washington and St. Tammany parishes right now. So if you are in that area across northern St. Tammany in particular, just north of Covington, just to the east of Folsom, those are the areas where you want to be in your safe place, because that's where we're seeing the most extensive part of this storm pushing through right now, but everywhere east of this line of storms, you're going to feel that initial gust, at least 40-mile-per-hour winds, and likely if you're in that warned area, you'll be experiencing 50 to 60-mile-per-hour gust at times as that continues to move through, so definitely something you want to be on the watch for. And then on the southern end of this, while we don't have the watches and warnings, you do still have some strong thunderstorms to work with, so this is definitely something you want to watch. We can get zoomed in here. We're getting some updates on some of those warnings, so I want to take a closer look at some of the more intense part of this system. Now, you notice I hear the ringing. The back end of this is getting drops from those warnings, so that's some good news. If you are along I-55, northern Tangipahoa looks to be completely out of the warning. The southern end of the parish still included in that severe thunderstorm warning, but this is again all moving very quickly to the east, about 40 to 45 miles per hour. That entire line is moving along. Then we have the individual storms within this, and look at that. We're seeing our tornado warning being allowed to drop here. So we are dropping the tornado warning. The line of storms that could still be seeing the gusty winds and those strong straight line winds, that's the area that's still warned for. So this is what we're going to be watching for now for the next 15 to 20 minutes as it moves across. I'm going to hand it back on over to Bruce Katz.
Thank you very much. All right, boy, it's been a long hour here. So the good news is that tornado warnings have all been dropped. We still are under severe thunderstorm warnings from Folsom to Bogalusa down to Covington. Now, we're going to be watching down south, as Nicandra mentioned. These are moving southeast, but the area in orange, this orange line is a severe thunderstorm warning. So with that, you could get winds up to 55 or greater, potential of hail. But the difference between a tornado warning and a severe thunderstorm warning is that tornado warning, we have the threat of that rotation with veering winds. A severe thunderstorm warning means that we have the potential threshold of winds of 55 or greater, potential of inch hail, and also you can get downpours and dangerous lightning. So here's that line as it continues to move eastward. Guys, if we can, let's go back to the traffic map, if we can, along I-55. So I want to show, just before we go back, and I'm going to head back to the desk to Liz and Meg, but I want to show you here on I-55, those red areas right near Amite, we have numerous trees down on the roadway. So at this point, Aaron, is the interstate closed or it's just they're veering traffic? Okay, we're going to check on that for you because a lot of people commute on 55. Not sure if it's totally closed, but as you can see heading northbound on 55, I mean, the line of red is getting longer. So the longer the line of red, that actually is traffic backed up. At this point, I would say up to about 3 miles. So either it's a trickle through or they may have shut down the interstate for a brief moment to actually clear those trees. Now, southbound does not seem to be as bad. Now, we are getting some backups there, maybe some rubbernecking, people seeing what's going on the other side of the interstate. But as of right now, on I-55 near Amite. Say again, I'm sorry? Okay, so from a DOTD, we're not seeing any information of any closures, but if you are going to be traveling 55, just be on the lookout for that. One more time to radar, and we're going to head on out, and I'm going to head back to the desk. Just want to recap. Severe thunderstorm warnings in effect for the next few minutes coming in on the North Shore. These storms are moving quickly, and that's a good thing. Hopefully, they'll be clearing the North Shore in the next 30 to 45 minutes. Now, South Shore, kind of a different story, down toward the river parishes. Right now, all of Lake Maurepas covered up in very heavy rain, approaching the western edge of Lake Pontchartrain, La Place moving into your area, Destrehan, Norco, heading over to Mons, all moving south and east. So once again, this is going to be a stormy evening, but these storms are moving very quickly as we continue to watch them move off to the east and southeast, averaging around 40 to 45 miles per hour. So we're going to kind of take a break here. Although there are no warnings out there as far as tornadoes, that's when we break in. We'll be crawling on the screen any more warnings that come down for the South Shore. And if the Metro comes under a warning, I'm going to pop back on because sure. South Shore, still we're in the evening commute. People are running around picking up the kids from their summer activities and that. But for right now, no warnings in effect as far as tornadoes. But you know, next hour is going to be a little bit tricky. If you don't have to leave, I would certainly stay put. But
and we did just get an update here, Bruce, not to cut you off, but Tangipahoa Parish Emergency Operations Center is saying that it looks more like straight line winds there, the damage, as opposed to a tornado. Good. They're saying there are trees down all across Amite and several portable buildings have flipped over. They're driving around the parish now just to assess the damage more, but at this point they do have some buildings, portable ones, that have flipped over.
And again, Viper was showing that, that velocity, showing the winds to and from. And then when we look into rotation, it gave us that indication. Actually, at one point, it was red. So that's more of a high moderate rotation or wind event. So that's what we were looking at that point. So it was pretty tricky out there.
Yeah.
But right now, the warnings, tornadoes at least, have settled down. If more come up, we'll be on the air.
All right. Thanks, Bruce.
Okay, and we thank you for watching. We now return you to our regular programming.